I love a place where I can stand before a group of people and preach the Word of God without having to water it down.
Which Jesus do you follow? Which Jesus do you serve? If Ephesians says to imitate Christ, why do you look so much like the world? Because my Jesus bled and died. He spent his time with thieves and liars. He loved the poor and accosted the arrogant. So which one do you want to be?
I do not fear man. I never have feared man. The Word of God offends, and if you don't like it, then you're going to have to just deal with it. The Word of God is the Word of God. You don't have to take it up with me. You have to take it up with God.
Hunger and thirst for righteousness. Or do we ache for another taste of this world of shifting sand? 'Cause my Jesus bled and died for my sins. He spent his time with thieves and sluts and liars. He loved the poor and accosted the rich. So which one do you want to be? And who is this that you follow?
There seems to be a watering down and even a skirting of this issue all over America and the world. So I'm going to talk to you today about the judgment of God. People need to know, and there's people listening to this that are sitting in prisons right now, that are there because of child molestation and rapes and murders, who still haven't figured out that there's something that's going to happen to them after the needle is plunged in their arm and they expire.
Pretty blue eyes and curly brown hair and a clear complexion is how you see him as he dies for your sins. But the word says he was battered and scarred. Did you miss that part? Sometimes I doubt we'd recognize him. 'Cause my Jesus.
I'm not going to sit here and stroke you, stand behind this sacred pulpit and stroke you 24/7 and tell you everything's okay. Because everything's not okay. Hebrews 9:27 says this: as it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment.
Because my Jesus would never be accepted in my church. The blood and dirt on his feet might stain the carpet, but he reaches for the hurting and despises the proud. And I think he preferred Beale Street to the stained glass crowd. And I know that he can't hear me if I cry it out loud. I wanna be like my Jesus. I wanna be like my Jesus. I wanna be like my Jesus. Yeah, yeah. I wanna be like my Jesus. Oh, 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 oh.
And I say to those of you that are seeker-friendly, people-pleasing pastors that are listening to this message, if you do not develop an incredible, deep fear of God in front of your people, you will pay. Because Ezekiel, God said to Ezekiel, if you do not warn them, then their blood will be on your hands. And what do you warn them? You warn them that there is a righteous God out there who watches the ways of man and will judge him strictly by the way he behaves. And will judge him strictly by the way he behaves.
But then you die for me. Can I be like you, Jesus? I wanna be like you, Jesus. I wanna be like my Jesus. I saw the Lord seated on a throne, high and exalted, and the terrain of his...
I love what Solomon said in Ecclesiastes 12, 13, and 14. And I remind you, even though this man had plenty of sin in his life, he was recorded and is recorded as the wisest man that ever lived. And he says this, at the end of everything, he said, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep His commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. Period.
With two they fly.
Now, if you're here today or you're listening by the internet and you say, I've never heard anything like this, it's because you've been eating baby food. And it's time for you to quit slurping milk out of a bowl and sit down and eat a steak. Revelation 21:8 says, but the fearful and unbelieving, the abominable and the murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake of fire, which burns with fire and brimstone, which is the second death.
Lord Almighty, Lord Almighty, holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty, and the whole earth is full of His glory. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty, and the whole earth is full of His glory.
Just as we've learned as children that if we play with fire, we're going to get burned, I'm telling you, if you play around and do not take seriously the words of this preacher, you're going to regret it. Today I'll be talking about the judgment of God, something that Gallup poll did a extensive poll on just a couple years ago, and 80% of North American adults believe that when they die, they will stand before God and be held accountable for their sins. The problem is, they're not doing anything about it.
And an angel flew to me, and he had fire in his hand, and he put it to my lips, and God took away my sin. He took away my sin. So we sing, holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty, and the whole earth is full of His glory. Holy, holy, holy is the
Robert Murray McShane said back in the 1800s, you had better die right the first time because you can't come back and try it again. Jim Elliot, the great missionary who died suddenly in the late 50s ministering to a cannibal tribe, said this, when it comes time to die, make sure that's all you have to do.